So I want you to imagine just for a second that you're 12 years old. You are put on a plane by yourself, flown 600 miles away from your family across the ocean to this city where you don't know a single soul.
Sounds terrifying.
Right. And your only safety net isn't like a trust fund, and you definitely don't have a helicopter parent checking in on you. It's literally just your own 2 feet. If you fail, you go straight back to crushing poverty.
Yeah, it's a massive burden for a kid.
Exactly. And that was the exact scenario a kid named Cristiano Ronaldo faced.
It really is a terrifying level of pressure for a child.
Yeah.
Our source text today, The Relentless Ascent of Cristiano Ronaldo, really pulls back the curtain on that exact moment.
Yeah.
For this deep dive, we are deconstructing the anatomy of extreme ambition. We're looking past the fame, past the hundreds of millions of followers, to understand exactly how that 12-year-old manufactured his own greatness through just, well, pure discipline.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because usually when we talk about a global icon, we focus on the finished product, right? The shiny exterior.
Absolutely, the highlights.
Yeah, the highlights. Even if you have never watched a single 90-minute football match in your entire life, you know the billboards. You know the flawless smile. But looking at our sources, that finished product is built on a foundation of absolute necessity. Our sources take us back to February 5, 1985. Funchal, Madeira. This is this small island in Portugal, and Ronaldo is born into a situation where life is just fundamentally hard.
Right. His starting point is one of severe economic hardship. I mean, his mother was working multiple jobs as a cook and a cleaner just to support the family. And his father was a gardener who also worked part-time as a kit man at a local football club, just to make ends meet.
Actually, let's pause on that job for a second, because understanding what a kit man does really frames this whole story.
Oh, for sure.
A kit man is the person scrubbing the mud off the boots, washing the sweaty uniforms, picking up after the players. So Ronaldo is growing up watching his father do physical, exhausting, menial labor for athletes who are living a life his family just can't afford.
What's fascinating here is the psychological impact of that environment, which is followed almost immediately by his departure. Because when he leaves for Sporting CP's youth academy in Lisbon, at age 12, mind you, he isn't just moving to a neighboring town.
No, not at all.
Right, Madeira is an island that's actually closer to the coast of Africa than it is to mainland Europe. So Lisbon was essentially a different universe.
A completely different world.
Exactly. When you are stripped of a traditional childhood comfort zone that early, you don't have the luxury of, gradual development. You are forced into a state of rapid emotional adaptation.
And the sources note that he lived alone, he missed his family terribly, and he literally cried at night. But he absolutely refused to give up.
Right. He essentially learned that his survival, his success, were entirely dependent on his own willpower.
Yeah.
That isolation wasn't just sadness, it became the engine for his entire career. He developed this survival mindset that would dictate every professional decision he made from that point forward.
It is a fascinating psychological baseline. But, and this is crazy, the emotional pain of leaving home was soon followed by a literal physical threat.
Yeah, the heart condition.
Right in the middle of these teenage years, when he's trying to prove himself in this high-pressure academy, doctors find a racing heart condition.
Which is huge, because for an athlete whose entire identity, whose entire future relies on extreme cardiovascular output, a racing heart condition is the ultimate biological red flag.
Yeah, you're done before you even start.
Exactly. In professional football, your heart rate is redlining for 90 minutes straight. A structural flaw there threatens to end a career before a professional contract is ever even signed.
Which makes his reaction almost unbelievable to me. The source material notes he has successful surgery to correct it, and then he returns to training just days later. Days!
It's incredible.
It is. And I really want to push back on this narrative you sometimes hear about athletes of this caliber, this idea of destiny or being chosen by the gods of sport.
Right, the myth-making.
Exactly. Reading this, it feels much more like a violent refusal to accept physical limitations. He simply wasn't going to let biology stop him.
And that refusal is the exact mechanism that sets up his entire breakthrough. By treating a major heart surgery as like a minor inconvenience, he accelerates his development. His speed, his dribbling, his confidence, they all start compounding at a rapid pace at Sporting CP. And that aggressive momentum collides directly with his first massive career break, which was the famous 2003 friendly match against Manchester United.
Right. Sir Alex Ferguson, the legendary manager of Manchester United, brings his team to Lisbon.
And this is where that survival mindset from his childhood really kicks in, because Ronaldo didn't view that game as a friendly exhibition.
Not at all.
The psychological mechanics of how he approached that game were just entirely different from the other players on the pitch. To him, it was a high-stakes audition.
Yeah.
He dominated that match, terrifying these seasoned professional defenders because he viewed every single minute as a fight to escape his past.
He puts on such an absolute masterclass that Sir Alex Ferguson literally refuses to let the team bus leave the stadium without signing this kid.
I love that detail.
It's wild. So at 18 years old, Ronaldo joins Manchester United for around £12 million, making him one of the most expensive teenagers in the history of the sport.
Yeah, from the streets of Madeira to the isolation of Lisbon to the brightest lights of the Premier League in England.
It's a huge jump.
It is. But, the transition to England was mechanically very difficult for him.
Oh, absolutely. And here's where it gets really interesting, because it completely challenges the myth of instant perfection. When he arrived in England, he was heavily criticized.
Oh, massively.
The media, the fans, even some of his own teammates thought he was doing way too many stepovers. And for anyone unfamiliar with the mechanics of football, a stepover is a deception technique where you wave your foot over the ball to confuse a defender.
It's very flashy.
Right. It looks incredibly flashy, but if you do it 5 times in a row, you've actually stalled the forward momentum of your team and allowed the opposing defense to run all the way back and reset.
Yeah, he was highly skilled, but tactically inefficient.
Yeah. I look at it like a flashy tech startup. He had a gorgeous user interface, incredible marketing, but absolutely zero revenue.
That's a great way to put it.
Right. He wasn't producing enough actual goals.
No.
But instead of getting defensive about his art as a dribbler, instead of complaining that English football didn't appreciate his style, he went into the lab and rebuilt his code.
Exactly. The sources note that he trained harder than everyone else, but the critical element here is applied intelligence. He didn't just run more laps. He specifically analyzed why he was failing and targeted those exact weaknesses with surgical precision. The Premier League is brutally physical, right?
Yeah.
Defenders were simply knocking him off the ball.
So he just bulked up.
Right. He added functional muscle. He stayed after practice to calibrate his shooting biomechanics, perfecting a specific type of free kick that dipped violently.
Wow.
He engineered his body to withstand the English game.
He turned himself into a profit-generating machine. And the payoff is undeniable. The source highlights the 2007 to 2008 season as the major breakthrough.
Yeah, that was the one.
He scores 42 goals. He helps Manchester United win the Premier League and the UEFA Champions League. And he wins his very first Ballon d'Or, officially recognizing him as the best player in the world.
It's incredible. And once he conquered the physical brutality of England, he realized the next evolution wasn't physical, it was mental.
Oh.
Yeah, he needed to prove he could survive the most unforgiving psychological pressure cooker in the sport.
Real Madrid.
Exactly.
In 2009, he makes history by joining the Spanish Giants for a then world record transfer fee of 94 million euros.
And look, the weight of a price tag like that has crushed incredibly talented players before him.
Oh, for sure.
The expectations at a club like Real Madrid are entirely unforgiving. A few bad games, and the stadium literally whistles at you.
They turn on you so fast. And there was massive doubt about whether he could handle that specific type of pressure. But the sources are incredibly blunt about the outcome he dominated.
He really did.
Let's actually pause on the statistics for a second, because I really want to make sure the math of what he accomplished there lands for you as you're listening to this.
Yeah, the numbers are absurd.
The source notes he became Real Madrid's all-time leading scorer with more than 450 goals in fewer than 450 matches.
It's just, yeah.
Stop and think about the mechanics of that. Averaging more than a goal a game at the absolute highest level of the sport over a period of nearly a decade.
It doesn't even make sense.
Like a baseball player hitting a home run in every single game for 9 years straight. It breaks the physics of the sport.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to look at the psychological engine driving that impossible math. A huge part of his ability to sustain that output was the environment he entered in Spain specifically, his unforgettable rivalry with Lionel Messi.
Oh man, the other side of the greatest era in football history. How does a rivalry like that actually function on a day-to-day basis?
Well, it acts as an external forcing function. Most athletes reach the top, They look around, and they comfortably coast because there is no one left to push them.
They've already won.
Exactly. But Ronaldo had a contemporary equal who was breaking records right alongside him, sometimes on the exact same weekend.
Wow.
And for individuals with Ronaldo's specific psychological makeup, that external pressure is a catalyst. It forced constant weekly micro-adaptations.
I see.
If Messi scored a hat-trick on Saturday, Ronaldo knew he had to score one on Sunday just to keep pace. It pushed him beyond normal human limits.
So he walks away from Real Madrid with 4 UEFA Champions League titles, including 3 consecutive ones from 2016 to 2018, which is just absurd, multiple Ballon d'Or awards, and countless golden boots.
A ridiculous resume.
But club dominance, being the ultimate hired gun for a massive global franchise, is one thing. Carrying the weight of your home nation reveals a completely different side of a competitor.
Yeah, because international glory was the one glaring omission from his resume for a really long time. The sources detail these heartbreaking defeats with Portugal early in his career, where he's carrying the expectations of an entire country.
And then we get to the 2016 UEFA European Championship.
Right.
This sequence feels completely scripted for a movie. Portugal finally makes it to the final. This is his defining moment. And early in the match, he suffers a severe knee injury.
Devastating.
He physically cannot continue. He is stretchered off the pitch in tears.
And for a player who relies entirely on his own physical agency, his ability to control the outcome with the ball at his feet, being sidelined in the most important match in his country's history is the ultimate nightmare.
Right.
He is completely stripped of his primary weapon.
But our sources point out the shift in his persona in that exact moment. He doesn't sit on the bench and sulk.
No, not at all.
He essentially becomes the assistant manager. He is on the sidelines, his knee heavily bandaged, limping aggressively up and down the technical area, passionately shouting tactical instructions and encouraging his teammates until the final whistle.
It really is a profound evolution in leadership. Here is the ultimate individual performer, a man who built a global empire on his own back, suddenly incapacitated.
Yeah.
He is forced to channel his intense, almost manic drive away from his own body and project it into his teammates. He had to trust others to finish the job he started.
And they did. Portugal won their first major international trophy, and he became a national hero. He followed that up by winning the UEFA Nations League with them in 2019, too. Now, looking at a player in his mid-30s who has reached the absolute zenith at Real Madrid and won international glory, common sense says it's time to slowly fade into a comfortable retirement.
Right, take it easy.
Yeah.
But instead, we see a pattern of continuous, deliberate reinvention. He leaves Real Madrid for Juventus in Italy.
Which is a very different game.
Exactly. The tactical landscape in Italy is famous for its rigid, zone-based defending. Doubters immediately questioned if an aging forward could succeed there.
So how does he actually adapt to that? I mean, he can't just outrun 20-year-old defenders anymore.
He fundamentally alters his playing style. He transitions from a winger who beats players with raw speed into an elite, spatial penalty box striker.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, he started reading the game 2 steps ahead, relying on spatial awareness and off-the-ball movement to find gaps in those rigid Italian defenses.
Oh.
And the result, he wins titles, scores over 100 goals, and becomes one of the few players in history to dominate the top leagues in England, Spain, and Italy.
And it doesn't stop there. In 2021, he returns to Manchester United. Even though the club itself was struggling deeply with its own tactical identity at the time, he continued scoring, reaching milestones, and cementing his status as one of the all-time top scorers.
Right.
And then, late in 2022, he makes another massive pivot, moving to Al Nassr FC in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, he became the pioneer of a completely new global league, bringing the eyes of the entire world to a new region and inspiring a massive wave of other international stars to follow him.
It's wild.
His true genius isn't just his shooting technique, it is his relentless adaptability to new environments.
So what does this all mean? I have to ask about the underlying biology here. I assume his genetics are just a 1 in a billion anomaly.
Wow.
Because no human body sustains this level of violent, relentless output for over 2 decades without just being naturally superhuman, right?
You might assume that, but the sources actually show his longevity is far more engineered than genetic.
Really?
Yeah. He treats his body the way a Formula One team treats a race car. Everything non-essential is stripped away, and the engine is tuned strictly for efficiency and output.
The details in the source about his off-pitch lifestyle are honestly almost intimidating.
Yeah.
Strict diet, daily training, Zero unhealthy habits.
None.
And this isn't a 6-week training camp. This is how he has lived every single day for over 20 years.
Exactly. He doesn't eat for pleasure, he eats for fuel. He employs hyper-specific recovery routines, prioritizing strict sleep cycles, and utilizing ice baths at 3 in the morning after a Champions League match just to reduce muscle inflammation by a fraction of a percent.
It creates a wild dichotomy when you think about it. On one hand, you have CR7, right? The global brand.
Oh, yeah. Massive.
He has hundreds of millions of social media followers. He owns luxury hotels. He sells fragrances and clothing lines. He exists in this stratosphere of unimaginable billionaire wealth and glamour.
But his actual day-to-day existence is marked by the ascetic discipline of a monk.
Yeah.
The luxury is the public byproduct, but the private asceticism, the boiled chicken, the water, the relentless physical maintenance, that is the foundation.
It's also worth noting how he directs that immense wealth. The sources highlight that despite the intense focus on his own brand and performance, he has quietly donated millions of dollars to charities, funded children's hospitals, and contributed heavily to disaster relief efforts over the years.
Right, he manages his philanthropy with the same intentionality as his career.
Yeah, it points to a broader understanding of his own influence and the leverage his platform provides.
Absolutely.
It really is a complete picture of someone who has maximized every single ounce of their potential. As we wrap up this deep dive, pulling together all these sources, the core takeaways are incredibly clear. First and foremost, greatness is earned, not given. Where you start a poor neighborhood on a small island in Madeira does not dictate where you finish.
Right.
Yes, success requires a baseline of talent, but that talent is ultimately forged through agonizing sacrifice, unyielding self-belief, and an immense, almost frightening level of discipline.
And this raises an important question, one that I want you listening right now to mull over. We spend so much time idolizing the results of this kind of greatness.
We do.
We wear the jerseys, we watch the documentaries, we marvel at the trophies and the goal records. But if reaching this absolute pinnacle of human achievement requires the extreme, single-minded obsession that forces a 12-year-old to leave their family,
If it requires a man to rigidly control every single ounce of his diet, his energy, and his focus for decades, sacrificing normal human experiences in the pursuit of mechanical perfection, is that level of sacrifice something the rest of us should actually try to emulate in our own lives?
wow.
Or is that kind of relentless ambition a heavy burden only meant for a rare few?
That is the ultimate question. Do we actually want the life, or do we just want the highlight reel?
Exactly.
It brings us right back to where we started. When you look at that famous stance before a free kick, you aren't just looking at a polished brand. You are looking at the result of a kid from Madeira who spent 20 years engineering his own reality. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep learning, keep questioning the world around you, and as always, keep pushing your own boundaries.